I just thought I'll give it a different perspective from all the speakers who've actually made very relevant and very important points. The point that I want to make is, if you take 1947, which wasn't too long ago in the life of a country, in the life of a region, actually in 1947, the borders that the Northeast had was only with China and with Bhutan. And with Bhutan, it was a loosely constructed border, and with China, possibly loosely constructed because the McMahon line was just about getting fortified. So roughly 1,200 kilometers or a little more. Suddenly independence came and you got 5,400 kilometers of border, of which only 22 kilometers links India. The paradigm shift of the people therefore there, and when people talk about smuggling, trade, I really cannot fathom. I think most of it is either out of politics or bureaucratic thinking and not actually understanding social dimensions of the fact that actually you've created an island which is totally disconnected with mainland India. If at all, it is more connected with the international borders, and actually, even further, just the way England managed India from London, Delhi is managing the Northeast from Delhi, and not even have one foreign service officer posted in the Northeast. So I'm saying this is the way actually we are talking about this Northeast policy. Everybody is here. If you look at this book, which was by eminent citizens, and all of them are eminent, and most of them are people I respect, I'm mentored by them, and I love them. But the reality is none of them are from the Northeast. So you have an eminent persons group, mostly out of Delhi, Bombay, everywhere else, but nobody from the Northeast. So it's quite interesting the way actually we're looking at the Northeast, and in that perspective, while we talk about connectivity, I believe two things are called for, and just because of the time dimension, I won't expand on it. One is who's accountable and who's responsible. Unless you have somebody accountable and responsible to deliver this, nothing will happen. So, there is no organization. I would suggest that we create a Northeast Frontier Association or authority. The Northeast Frontier Authority should be empowered with everything to do on connectivity of this region, which is land, water and air. That's the recommendation, that's the implementation. If necessary, they should be funded across departments. I believe two other agencies which are absolutely questionable, I respect many of them there. One is the Northeastern Council and the Donor Ministry, should find their actually vocations in the Northeast authority that I'm recommending. And in fact, those two organizations should be taken off because that's another layer of delivery for this Northeast integration. So that's one part. Two is, before we look internationally, and the points that Rajiv has made and two other speakers, if you don't have internal connectivity here, everybody, the world is rushing to Myanmar with 60 million people. We have 41 million people going up to 55 million people in the next 5 years. So actually it is the next frontier for the world. The question is, we do not have intra-connectivity within the Northeast. So I had recommended, we done a map and actually put it, called the Frontier Ring Road. This connects from Srirampur, which is the point which is the chicken neck, right through Arunachal and connects every single state and comes out near Dhubri again in Srirampur. So this Frontier Road which we've recommended, and this is a FICCI recommendation done in December, of all the roads, and therefore it connects all the so-called Asian highways or Asian lanes. I think it's Asian Lane 1 and Asian Lane 2. It's nothing to do with the highway. And all the other internal roads that we have, which is National Highway 37 and all that. So the Frontier Ring Road, I think, is probably 4,100 kilometers, of which only 70 kilometers actually needs to be built. The rest has to be expanded and made sort of delivered. Unless actually you have a Frontier Ring Road linking this. When we talk about Northeastern connectivity, it's not about a road connecting some point in the Northeast with the whole of ASEAN or with Bangladesh. It will never take off unless the whole of the Northeast is connected with all the bilateral, trilateral and internal roads. So I think that is critical. Next is, again, the point that Rajiv made. If you don't have Bangladesh on board, I do not believe, both politically and human-wise, I think 1947 Declaration of Independence was actually disastrous. Because it suddenly put people in Tripura who were going and accessing markets not just across in then East Pakistan, was actually the access to Calcutta got challenged, and therefore 700 kilometers became 2,600 kilometers. And as this forum doesn't actually refer to Government of India policy, I suddenly wonder what equality is about. But that's for another forum. But the reality is, unless you actually get Bangladesh, we are going back and not even moving forward, because now you look at 1947, and I'll end my case hereafter. In 1947, we had 3 routes into Calcutta and the east. One was through Sylhet, one was through North Bengal, and one was through Tripura, and the various routes connecting then East Bengal with the rest of the mainland. We had routes all across Myanmar, because Myanmar was then Burma, and Burma, roughly 2-3 years this way, that way, was actually part of the same conduit. We had a river system. In fact, the thriving industry of Assam, and speaker alluded to it in 1947, I think, my Dada Bez Barua had talked about it. In 1947, we actually had a economic index right on top because of tea, oil, lumber, and various other agrarian products. We were number 2 in the country in 1947. So in 2013, we are now behind even on that in this index. So therefore, the river system is gone. We had more planes going into Assam in terms of number of airports covered in 1947 than we have today. We have more number of planes today, but we had more airports covered then. So I think what we really need to do is re-understand and reorient what we have actually been doing. From 1947, therefore, the Northeast is worse off than it is today. So the question of looking east, and this has been alluded to, doesn't really arise, because you have this whole chaos of actually not understanding what we're doing within ourselves. So I do believe that the linkage is required. I also believe that the linkage is probably, if we focus on it, will be not only look east, but will be go east. And in fact, that linkage may be faster and better if we actually work out these PPP models, which we have proposed in a 550,000 crore plan, which we have actually put into place, covering all these infrastructural needs, highway needs, and border ports. All right? Thank you so much.